Slow down, you move too fast. Gotta make the morning last. Kicking down the cobblestones, looking for fun, feeling groovy. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-dum, feeling groovy.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the bridge. We've got a great guest with us today. Karen, I've been talking to you for about 5 minutes, and I still didn't ask you how you say your last name. Is it Rabe or Rabe?
It's Rabe. Yeah.
Rabe. Okay, yeah. It's phonetically correct. So,
Yes, it is. It depends where you come from. When we
oh,
go over to Europe, they say Rabe and
okay.
different things like that.
Sure. Well, we're glad to have you here. And this is episode 114 for us. And Sandy, have you got a quote for us this morning?
Yes, I do. We're going to quote Audrey Hepburn. If you are my age, you will know who she is. Younger groups may not, but Audrey says, "Nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I'm possible."
Oh, that's a good one. I'm possible. All right. Well, Karen, yeah, I think you have got an incredible story and journey. And so, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? And if you include some of your passions, that would be wonderful.
Well, I had kind of a unique upbringing, and that probably is what formed my life. I was born to missionaries in a clearing in the jungle of Liberia, about 35 miles out from Monrovia.
Oh my God.
At the time I was born, the only way to get out there were no roads. So we had a little airfield, and a little plane would come in, a little mission plane would come in and deliver, supplies for the mission station about once a month.
Wow.
Or with if somebody needs some medical attention or something like that. So that's where I started out. My dad started a leper colony, and at that time they had just developed a treatment for them, and so he had, along with the people that were the lepers themselves, they built an entire village.
Wow.
And so that was very cool, because they had their own church, their own schools, and they could bring their families with them from the villages to live with them. And so that was very meaningful. And my mom ran a boys' boarding school.
Wow.
And there's a funny picture I have that there's a whole line of these black African boys from the tallest down to the shortest, and here's this little white girl at the end of the line. So I had kindergarten and first grade there with the boys at the boarding school.
Wow.
So that was my beginning in life.
That was fascinating. And I'll tell you what, in that kind of a building, almost entrepreneurial environment, I bet you learned a lot of real basic skills.
Yeah, really. And then my parents came back for a year in the States, and they actually changed missions and went back to Nigeria. And then I went to boarding school. That was the mission school had about 250 in the school. And then the high school part, when you got to junior high and high school, that was a much larger school, and all the missions went together to provide teachers and stuff for that school.
Sure.
And
where was the boarding school?
The boarding school was in Jos, Nigeria.
Okay, so
up on the plateau. Yeah, it was a great school. I mean, it was a great way for me to grow up. I think maybe my resilience and my independence and there's a lot of qualities I think I developed from growing up that way.
And I'm sure some communication skills that have stayed
Yeah.
with you forever.
What
Yeah.
age
And saw
what
a
age
lot of
were you
cultures.
what age were you, Karen, when you ended up going to the boarding school?
When I went to boarding school, I was 8 years old. I had just turned 8.
Wow.
Mhm. And I was in boarding schools until after my sophomore year of high school. And then I came back to the United States to finish my education.
Wow.
So,
Did you make some lifelong friends that you
oh,
that you
yeah, when you grow up in boarding school, they're all like your brothers and sisters because
Right.
you go to school with them, you eat with them, you're living in the dorms with them, you depend on each other.
sure?
And it's very much we have reunions every 3 years, and
Oh, awesome.
they're just magnificent to go to because they're just like we're seeing our brothers and
Yeah,
sisters.
big family reunion, huh?
Yeah, it really is. It's much different. I went to my husband's high school reunion. It was totally different.
No,
There wasn't that same
no,
that
no,
same vibe to it.
no. The connections were different for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. So, what if you look as you look back? Two kind of related questions. What what was the biggest takeaway from growing up in boarding school with all those kids? And then the second question is, what did you have a favorite teacher or a teacher that stood out?
Um, as far as the growing up in a boarding school, I think um, there were some of us that were really outgoing, loved adventure like me, and were kind of, in a way, stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And there were others that we were all got homesick, for our parents and so on. That was a difficult part of it. But some of them, had a very difficult time handling boarding school.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really a place where we really supported each other a lot. And like we had big sisters and little sisters. So those of us that were older had a little sister, and we would go down every morning, make sure that they got their hair combed and they
Mm-hmm.
brushed their teeth and got dressed for the day and supported them. And I'd say that it's not something that everybody does well in.
Right. Right.
And some parents had different attitudes. My parents' family was a priority. They said, if you need us, we're there.
Right.
So,
Right.
but others, they told them that their mission work
Mm-hmm.
was the most important thing.
Oh yeah. So you
What do
got
you do with that?
got pushed to the back of the line as a kid. Did you have siblings?
Pardon me?
Did you have any siblings?
No, I didn't have any brothers and sisters. So in a way, it was wonderful for me because I had all these kids to enjoy and play with and have companionship with. So that was really nice. So
Before I ask you again about the teacher, I have a question because you needed to learn not only for yourself, but to help others into finding that safety zone,
yeah,
and then even probably as you moved on as an adult, being alone, you talked about being resilient.
hmm
What did you find how did you make yourself at home?
How did I make myself?
At home, how feel safe. You be there
Oh,
in that zone where you felt safe at boarding school.
oh,
Did you have
um,
maybe you didn't, but
I think um, at my school we had really good dorm parents.
mm,
And they supported us a lot and really gave us a lot of training. And I think they really helped, and the teachers, helped to make us feel real secure and safe where we were.
good.
And of course, developing really strong friendships where you could share with each other and look out for each other.
Right, right.
So
Well, you just touched we always go back to Maslow's hierarchy, where it starts with safety needs and then it moves
Yes.
up to relationships. And
Yeah.
you touch both of them, and they're very key so that we can get up and get up to our higher brain and learn.
Very true. Yeah. Very true.
Yeah.
So one of the things that comes to mind, Karen, is that when you're a little kid, so they say that you should have so many hugs a day to be healthy. We know about the babies in orphanages over in Romania who failed to thrive because they were not getting the physical touch, the emotional fulfillment that they need. How did that work out for you as far as being 8 years old and going to a boarding school? Did the teachers actually try to build emotional bridges with the students they had?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I think that was part of it too. I think they pretty well needed to,
Right.
because we didn't have anyone else, and we didn't have parents to fall back on.
Right.
And probably some were better at it than others.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And same with the dorm parents. They would try to communicate with each one of us, and so we got that personal attention.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it was really hard. I can just imagine their job, trying to
Right.
reach all of us.
Right.
And I'm sure some of the kids responded better than other kids.
Mhm.
Right.
So
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know. I know I had really good, I got a letter from home every week and wrote home every week. And I had a very strong relationship with my parents.
Right.
And I think that helped me out a lot.
Right.
But others, I noticed when they got older, became kind of resentful and a little rebellious, because I don't think they had that same relationship that I had,
Right.
where
Yeah.
I could talk to my parents, and I was important to my parents, and
You had been nurtured. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not going to get off the teaching thing because you're a teacher, but what grade did you teach, or grades?
I taught K through 8, and then I specialized in reading and taught specialized in first and second grade, because my goal was to get the kids off to a really strong start and give them a good foundation in reading and in math. And so that was my goal. By the time they left my classroom, they were reading like crazy.
Well, I know.
A lot of nonfiction books and scientific books and things like that. So that was my goal.
It's the cornerstone to learning.
Yeah.
And once they hit fourth grade, for sure, it's content from there on out. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I used to tell the second graders, those third grade teachers are not going to hold your hand. You better be ready.
Well, and I think the secret is instilling the love of reading. So my daughter has done homeschool with her kids, and her second child was really struggling. She found the kind of books that really enticed him, and boy, he took off once he found something that rang his bells. Is that he couldn't wait to read the next chapter, and that made a big difference in his success.
I remember
if a kid's interested in dinosaurs, I tell them, check out the books on dinosaurs. It's whatever you're right, whatever they're interested in.
I used to tell parents, if they had a boy that liked baseball, get them baseball cards.
That's
They've
right.
got the stats on the back and the stories, and you got to pick that interest. So
like Pokemon. Now it seems to be Pokemon cards.
That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, favorite teacher, or maybe just favorite adult at boarding school, and why?
Probably I think she was my fourth grade teacher, and she also had like pioneer girls, kind of like bluebirds or something like that. And she did that, and she'd take the girls when we got to a certain point, I think maybe fifth grade or something, had pioneer girls and that. And boy, that was a critical age for us,
Oh, yeah.
and she would have us, and we would, do the things, the merit badges and things that we would earn, and she would work with us and then would sometimes take us off campus to on picnics. And I mean, so I think that was really critical. And for the girls at that age, I
Yeah.
think for me, because I was kind of an early developer, I really needed that. I needed that, that woman.
Challenge. You
Yeah.
needed a challenge.
And
Yeah.
hands-on, learn by doing. Plus, you had the background of watching your dad build a town and your mom create a
Oh, yeah.
school. You know what I mean? That's real life stuff. So you dove right back into it.
Oh, yeah. I did everything with them,
Yeah.
so I was a part of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. You pounded the nails and
Yeah, I helped make the bricks.
Mm-hmm. That's great. The practical stuff is awesome. And you're
Uh-huh.
as kids for sure, but even as adults, we're hands-on tactile learners, and we
Yeah, absolutely.
need
Yeah.
to do that. So, what was your love for reading and love for learning, and you still have a love for learning, and
Yeah.
you're writing, and what else are you doing?
Well, that was one of the things I really wanted to instill in my students was a love for learning, whatever it was, and I think that's just a part of my life. So when I retired, I just I didn't know how to sit around. There was one thing I was doing. I was taking care of my mother, and she lived with us for 10 years before she passed away at 95. And so for a while, I was pretty involved just taking care of her. And then once she passed away, I'm going like, well, what do I do now? And my husband said, what have you always wanted to do? I said, I've always wanted to write but I did write all through my teaching, because at the end of each school year, um, when I taught the kids how to write their own story, I would write a story, and every single student in the class was a character in the story.
Oh, fun.
And so then I gave each one of that story to take home as kind of a remembrance of the school year and our year together. And so I was always writing, but professionally, not to. So I love thrillers.
Yes,
So
I do too.
I started writing thrillers, and all of my stories are based on true stories. I had a friend that told me a story about her brother and what happened to him on the day of 9/11. It was at a CEO conference in Seattle. And immediately, of course, all the planes were shut down.
Right.
They had a group of 4 of them that had spent this conference together. And so they're all going, what do we do now? And they said, well, let's rent a car. We'll have to drive, and we'll just, they couldn't find a rental car. There was just nothing. And so this one guy knew of a repossession lot in Seattle on Yesler Way, and went down and said, hey, can we rent a car from you? And the guy says, sure, I've got this car that this guy hasn't paid for it, and you can have it. Well, they started out headed to the first stop, which was in California, and it's a hair-raising story.
Oh, wow.
And so I thought about it. I think I thought about it for almost a year. And then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to take the true story and just weave it into a thriller. So it's actually fiction, but it's based on a true story.
Yeah.
And that was my first one that got me started.
Awesome.
And so I've had 3 published now.
It sounds like you need to go into writing for television. That sounds like a great TV series.
It does. People have asked me, about that. If actually for all three of them, people have asked me about having them as a TV series. Yeah.
So you're in the middle of one right now? Are you writing one right now?
Well, my own kids have been after me. Many years ago, I did write a book that was published while my kids were home. I homeschooled my kids for a while, and it was about one of my adventures in Africa, and it was published. But it's out of publication now, and the publishing company doesn't even exist anymore. So they said, you know what? You need to write about your adventures in Africa. So I thought, well, what am I going to do? So what I did, I went back and rewrote that book. It's the same story, but I rewrote it, and it's been published. And I thought, okay, I'm going to write a series on the different adventures. So the second one is at the publisher right now.
Awesome.
And I'm working on the third one, and it's all about my adventures. The first one is in boarding school. The second one is my ocean trip, month-long ocean trip on a freighter.
Wow.
From New York to Lagos, Nigeria. We were in a hurricane, and a lot of other things happened, a tail end of a hurricane. And then this third one is me and my pet monkey, Elmer. And so it's a very fun one. Kids are going to really enjoy it.
They would love that. They would love that.
So do you have a writing protocol that you use for yourself?
Well, when I started, and this is something I think a lot of people say, I've always wanted to write a book, or I've always wanted to do this. I said, well, just do it.
Yeah.
Just sit down and start. When I started writing thrillers, I knew nothing about writing thrillers. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to sit down and start writing. And then I do it on a program called Autocritic. And they also have like classes, training, how to do this and how to do that. So I've done a lot of online learning of how do I do this. I just go online, put it in, and learn about it and keep going. And then I have Autocritic just check my work, and they'll say, well, you're 95% okay on this. You need to work on this and this and this. And, so I just,
awesome.
I learned as I went, and it's just like, and I'm retired. So it's never too late. Just start.
I love that.
I've always wanted to.
And it's that just do it attitude. That's that entrepreneurial spirit, that you just, I don't know how to do it. So all I need to do is learn.
You got to just start and
right.
learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Grandma Moses that became an artist at the age of 80?
Yeah.
Wow. It's like I didn't start an Airbnb until I was 70 years old.
Are you still doing the Airbnb?
An Airbnb.
Are you still doing the Airbnb now?
Yeah.
Wow.
I manage it, and I still do the cleaning. So, but my husband said, what else have you always wanted to do? I said, well, I've always wanted to have an Airbnb.
So what's next on the list? I bet you've got some.
I don't know.
No.
I'll have to slow down one day.
Well, something will pop up and come in your head.
I'm sure.
Yeah, we've got some other authors that we've interviewed. And one of these days, when I learn how to go live instead of just record, I want to have a panel, and we'd love to have you on.
Be fun.
Yeah.
I would like that.
Writers.
It's fun when people are asking you questions.
Yeah, just basically discussing how you write and what you process, and just kind of collaborating with other authors, because I think you have a lot in common.
It's like people say, do you start with an outline? Well, I sort of do, but the outline changes a lot. as I go along, because I come across things I hadn't thought of.
Uh-huh.
And it's
What is the one or two highlights of writing a thriller, or if you were to give somebody tips, what would be two highlights of think about this or things to consider?
yeah, you want to do the foreshadowing, so that it has to be a thriller has to move quickly.
Yeah.
You don't want to get bogged down. There's and That's kind of hard because so many people like, well, I want this big description of all of this. Well, you can't spend too much time doing a lot of description, because if you're like me and you're reading a book like that, I'll just skim over that.
Right, right.
So you really have to keep it moving. So they want to go, like I've had people tell me that they could not put it down. They had to read the whole night
Right.
to get the story done.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's got to be a page turner, and you've got to give foreshadowing, but not give it away. And what's cool for me is that people really enjoy. I have a real surprise always at the end.
Yeah, I need to have you talk to my husband, Karen. He and a buddy went down to Guatemala. And anyway, he ends up in a prison down there with his buddy because they use a geocaching program, and they end up at the president's house.
Oh.
And he had no idea. I mean, they were just, but the storyline, you guys need to talk. It is a really amazing story. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, two questions about foreshadowing. I know the thrillers that I've read and enjoyed have pretty short chapters. So
yes.
And then the other thing is, do you go backward? Do you kind of start where it happens and then go backwards to foreshadow? Plan backwards.
You can do that. I don't do that a lot. I start. I don't go backwards a lot.
Okay.
I know some authors do.
Right.
They're taking you back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and I don't do that. I usually just keep going, keep a real strong pace, heading toward the end. And of course, there's things that affect them that are from behind that they're trying to work through,
right,
and so on and so forth. But yes, and those chapters must be short. Otherwise, I know if chapters are too long for me, I just get tired. It's like I need to get to the end of the chapter.
Right. I remember all the Dan Brown books that I read, and I kept noticing how short his chapters were, and that makes them page turners.
It does. It helps a lot. It helps to speed that up.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Wow. Well, yeah, I can just see you going back to your second grade class and teaching those little kids how to write little thrillers of their own.
That would be fun. Yeah, it was fun teaching them writing, because I taught them, my kids did a lot of writing because I found I could teach a lot of reading through writing.
Yeah, reading through writing. Plus, writing is such a good process.
Yes.
For the soul, even, it's just a good practice to be.
Another thing I do when I'm writing, a lot of writers only work on their laptop or their, on their keyboard. I write in my notebook.
Okay.
And because that process of actually writing it from my brain to, through me and writing it. And then when I transfer that onto the laptop, I'm also editing and redoing it again. And that's a good process for me.
It is. Well, and it's that, old teachers that used to teach cursive writing.
Yes.
There is a science to it.
Exactly.
And it does connect to reading.
Right.
Those kids, once they learned cursive, that's when they started reading silently.
Yep.
You know, and even the pencil, not the pen that hits the paper, hits
Yes.
our proprioception, and there's a
think
lot
so.
of science to it. Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and I think
I
with
agree.
reading, with all the social media that we have around us and all this stuff going on around us, reading makes kids find their imagination. I think we have lost some of that because of all of the things available to kids. I think sitting down with a book, man, they're having to conjugate, they're having to think it through and imagine. And I
Yeah.
think it's so important in growing up is
Yeah.
your learning is being able to have a good imagination.
Absolutely. And another thing in my children's theory series that I'm writing is there's being a teacher. I'm always wanting them to learn something.
Right.
Same in my thrillers because they're based on the first one on 9/11, so you learn a lot about 9/11. The other one's based on the Rodney King riots in LA, and you learn a lot about what happened, and everything. And same in the children's books, there's a lot about kindness and empathy and friendship
That's awesome.
and
It's learning.
things like that, but actually demonstrated by the way,
Sure.
by the story, not by a how-to book like you need to be kind. Well, how do I be kind?
Yeah.
And this actually
Example.
shows them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I love you're literally writing historical fiction through
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
the genre of thrillers. That's
Yeah.
how best could that be?
Yeah.
High
Yeah.
interest, Oh,
And involved in my trip across the ocean, one of the things also was forgiveness,
Mhm.
which is such a big deal. How do you forgive?
Mhm.
How do you keep that friendship?
Oh, that's awesome. That's
So
awesome.
yeah,
Oh, so you're just blowing me away. Like I said, you're just such an interesting person with a wonderful story, and you're a writer that's taking um, your life and everything into the future with with you because of that.
yeah.
What would be so somebody maybe is just retiring or just going into teaching? What is a piece of advice that you could give to somebody out there who's watching?
If you're just going into teaching,
Or not just wisdom. What piece of wisdom do you have for anybody? But you know,
well, I think no matter what you're doing and where it is, like my children, at school, they would ask me, "How do you get your students to do all this work? And how do you get your students to bring back their homework or anything?" And well, what I think is they know I care.
there we go.
They know I love them. They
Yes.
know I care about them. And I think that's almost in anything that you do.
Mhm.
The people working under you that you're supervising, if they know that you really care about them,
Right.
you're going to take a minute and find out, well,
Mhm.
how are you really today?
Yeah.
And not just pass you by, and you're not just a worker or a student or something, but just that attitude that you really care. I'm here with you, and I'm here to help you, and I'm
Right.
here to work with you.
Real authentic
Yeah,
inspiration. Yeah.
yeah.
I
I
love
think
the
it's
Parker Palmer quote that says, "Know your students well,"
yeah,
and they know if you know them.
yeah, exactly. I remember in one community that was so difficult that I taught in, I would go in the morning and get some of the students that the mom and dad wouldn't get them out of bed and they wouldn't get to school in time to have breakfast and something. So I would go and get them, bring them to school.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to meet them where they are and
Hmm. And they never
do the
forget that.
best you can.
That's right. That's right.
Love that.
So, as we wrap up, Karen, what what is one takeaway from our conversation today?
Well, it's been lovely being with you ladies today.
What-
I've enjoyed it, and one takeaway I have every the last podcast I was in, they wanted me to prepare this and prepare that and prepare something else. I found this to just be very refreshing, just to
Good.
talk to you and not to prepare anything, but just to interact with each other. And I find that very charming. I think it's delightful. It has been a pleasure.
Good.
Sandy, how about you? What's your takeaway?
I love the fact of this little girl being raised around a leper colony and going to boarding school. I mean, Karen, your life has had so many facets, and you have taken it and used that for sharing with the people around you in your community. And I think that's everyone has their story, but you have a really, really big story.
Very unusual, anyway.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Yes, I love it.
It is. I've taken away, I love the process that you talked about in writing the thrillers, just kind of breaking it down. And I also love the fact that you've got heart, that everybody you touch, you're touching with your care and your compassion. And that's what motivates them. That's what motivates you. And you're bringing it out into the world. And
Right.
that's just awesome. So I want you to come back. Like I said, one of these days I'm going to do some sort of a panel with authors, but it won't be to prepare. We'll just be sharing stories because we don't do the preparation thing. So yeah,
I think our passion shows through, Karen, when we can just be real and not have to try to do all this pre-planning, because what happens is that you already have shared your story and we can already see how much it meant to you and how you passed it forward. So that's better anyway, I think.
absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome. You're part of the family now. So
Thank you.
We're ready to maybe next time, or when that one book is published, come on, you can tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it. Thank you so much. And goodbye, everybody. Thanks for being with us.
Bye.